Welcome to a winning edition of Garnet and Old Postgame. We are very excited to be here with you because we got a W. They did it, Vince. I'm Ryan. That's Vince. Welcome, everyone. New to the channel, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. But we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about the win. Post your comments in the comment section, your pros, cons, everything that you saw last night. But Vince, it feels good for the first time in a long time to be talking about a W. You were at the stadium. I heard the vibe was good. What's your first take?
Yeah, I think it's been over 200 days or so since the last win, which is unbelievable considering, last season and 13-0, 13-1, 13-0. It's been a long time. And not only, have we been, losing games, it's just been the way it's looked, and
Yep.
but yesterday, let me tell you, man, Ryan, yesterday, I wish you'd have been there because you would have been proud. You would have been proud of a lot of things. And the weather was decent, and the crowd. I just going into yesterday, I'm like, well, I knew there'd be a decent crowd because of the parents' weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the stadium was full. It took a little bit for the top of the student section to fill in. But the crowd was there, and they were pretty much there throughout the whole game. And it was, considering the reduction in capacity of the stadium, it was loud.
Yeah.
And there were several times, when Cal was having problems,
False start. Yeah.
false starting after false start after fall. That is in the end zone where I was sitting.
Yeah.
So it was, it's not going to be as loud as it normally is when you have the normal 75,000 people. But it was impressive, and it really made a difference. And it did my Seminole heart good
Yeah. I
to
think
know,
a lot of people needed this.
yeah, just to know that, yeah, people are frustrated, and they're some of them are overly angry, which is interesting. But they supported the team yesterday, and they had a big part in the game day. Ryan, you will also love Seminole Wind
Mm, they did
after
it.
the first quarter. I don't know if that is like an anchor point that they're going to do every game, but it was pretty awesome.
They definitely should.
They should.
Uh, from even listening from the TV, Vince, it was apparent that the crowd was into it and loud. And I think that plays right into our kind of my first take, which is fans and stadiums get loud when they see a team putting forth effort, even if it's one side of the ball. And what you saw on defense, in my opinion, was nothing short of heroic last night. You guys, bring up your college football scoreboard app of your choice and scroll through every game, FBS, FCS. Scroll. How many non-FCS teams are held to less than 10 points ever?
And no touchdowns.
Yeah, and no touchdowns. And by the way, I'm not saying Auburn's any good, but Cal just beat Auburn, right?
Yeah, and manhandled them pretty good.
Yes. So they're coming in confident. We couldn't have come in less confident in what we were going to see. And the amount of effort you saw, and I think the comment from the defense players in the post game was they simplified the playbook and they told us the defensive line to go hunt, and we did. And I love that because guys were firing off the ball. We saw a push, by the way, on both sides of the line, offensive line and defensive line,
Yeah.
which is a good sign. We blew up their offensive line time and time again. We were getting pressure a ton. And even when something leaked out, like you mentioned, how loud it was in that end zone when they were right there on the goal line,
Mhm.
it sucks to give up that third and long
Yeah, it did.
after all that. But listen, despite giving up those annoying third and longs a couple times in the game, when it mattered, they locked it down. In particular, the defensive line combined with the corners. I thought the corners played exceptionally well in man last night, all night. They were playing press man all night long, and they were in the hip pocket of those Cal receivers.
Yeah, and the plays that Cal made against them, most of the time, the guys were there, and receiver goes up and makes a play. That's going to happen. We go back to these things that you and I have been saying for 3 years now. Is that if you're looking for perfection, you're not going to find it in sports. So you are going to get frustrated when you've got the team backed into their end zone and they false started 3 times in a row due to the crowd, and then something leaks out for 23 yards or whatever it was. You are going to get frustrated with that. But those are the kind of things that happen, and I believe that the defense has gotten gradually better throughout, the 4 games. And that's, considering where we started, that's really all we can ask for at this point is for effort and improvement. And you are starting to see some of the younger guys, get significant, important snaps. And I'm excited about that because, you know, maybe the older guys just kind of run through the motions. I don't know if this is true or not, but you've been there for a while. Maybe you're just going through them. But the younger guys have a fire under them because they have not gotten the chance to showcase what they
Right.
can do. Edwin Joseph, that last play of the game, or the last play
When
where
he flew forward.
he was like off the top rope coming after him. It was amazing. And of course, everybody in the end zone there just, you know, jumped up in the air, knowing at that point, barring some kind of catastrophic Mario Cristobal thing, we were going to win that game.
Yeah, with the only thing, and it's so apparent, Vince, that we both know that if the defense had looked lost, uninspired, going through the motions,
Lethargic.
that crowd would have not been that way.
No.
It's play when human beings recognize supreme effort from someone else. It excites you. You're like you're there. It's almost like you're playing with them. You're right there next to them,
Right.
and that's what the entire crowd fed off the defense. Again, I think the defensive line was extremely physical. Uh, and it wasn't anything fancy. They weren't doing it again. They simplified the playbook. They said Fuller said so himself in his post game comments, and you didn't see a whole lot of spins and switch. Guys coming from the right all the way to the left through. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
just coming at you.
Well, think about that. When you say simplify the playbook, are they doing it because they don't think the team can do it, or are they doing it because they're starting to roll in some of the younger guys,
Yes,
right?
that's it.
And I think that's more of the
Yep.
reason to do that, and it's worked out well. You bring up a great point, Ryan. It was really tough. Yeah, teams are going to struggle,
Yeah.
and they're always going to be your team, and you're going to support them. But it's really hard to buy in when it doesn't seem, you don't get a vibe from the players that they are putting forth the effort.
Hmm.
So not only is the team not great, but the energy isn't there. Now you're starting to see the energy, at least from the defensive side of the ball, and a couple of pieces on the offense as well.
Pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I don't know what it's going to equate to long term
Yeah.
this season, but I don't, to be honest with you, I don't want to say I don't care, because I do care, but there is no one that's going to dampen my spirits after what happened yesterday. Everybody was picking a loss, just about, including me, because I
Yeah.
had not seen any kind of
Effort.
effort or energy or any signs of life.
Yep.
Well, we're starting to see that now. And again, whatever the future holds, I don't know. But 1-3, as ugly as some of it was,
Yeah.
is way better than 0-4.
And there were some signs of life on offense. Let's switch topics here.
Yeah.
Um, for everyone except for DJ, in my opinion. I thought body language wise, he looked same. I mean, he's just that kind of stoic and the quiet, slow clap. I don't know if you saw my tweet last night
Yeah.
when he did the spin move. It was like the slowest spin move I've ever seen in my life. He's not fleet-footed. If he tries to get out of the pocket, he's not doing too much. He made the bare minimum throws that you had to make to end up winning that game. I thought Toafili put in max effort, which good for Toafili because that guy has been a huge part of this program and has been buried on the depth chart. And now he gets his chance because Roydell Williams being injured and makes the most of it. And to the credit of the offensive line, they gave him the push to break some runs, which was really encouraging. But the highlight, Vince, for me was my man. You know who I'm going to bring up, Jakai. I've been. It's funny. Every year we go into the year, we talk about these receivers, and I always say I think Jakai is going to be the biggest difference because the man just knows how to when it's needed. He knows how to get the spark. I love Jakai Douglas, man. I always have, and I always will.
Don't know him at all, but he just seems like a spark plug in some
Yeah.
form or fashion. And, I'll take it. Is he, the best receiver that's ever donned the garnet and gold? No, but none of these guys are.
Yeah.
So someone has to kind of take on the mantle, and if it's him, that's fine. And back to Lawrence, I saw things happen in this game that make me wonder why he wasn't the starting running back.
I have an opinion on that. Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I don't know about, reasons why or why not. And, everybody talks about it all the time, how the coaches, are going to do what they see in practice. That's what they're going to go with. Right. So that's fine, whatever. But he's not as great as, like, say, Trayshawn Ward was, or maybe Dalvin Cook was in terms of like, or Devonta Freeman was in terms of like, I'm going to get positive yards. It may not be a ton, but we're rarely going to have negatives.
That's right.
And that matters for this offense in a huge, huge way.
He picked up at minimum 4 or 5 yards. It felt like even on not so great runs.
Yeah. So more of him, absolutely. It's a shame that DJ missed that bomb.
Oh yeah, and Vince, from what you could see, because you had a better view of it, was it overthrown or was it any issue with the receiver getting separation or making the right move?
The receiver had plenty of separation.
No, I know, but you know how they get hung up on the early on the play sometimes.
Oh yeah, from early in the play, it didn't look like there was an issue getting away. But what it just seemed to me, because I was in that end zone, and when I
thought it was
first
a touchdown all day, right?
I thought it was a touchdown all day. The only question was it an overthrow? And not really. It was more of a little. He led him a little bit too far to the right.
Yeah.
And then I'm in my head. I'm going, well, maybe was it Benson?
It could be that the receiver just did not run the right angle
at the top of the route, maybe, or was there? He was pretty much flat out going probably as fast as he could. I had a question of whether if he would have laid his body out, if he would have had a chance to maybe to get some fingertip on that ball. But it would have been, a miraculous, probably, ESPN award-winning catch. I just think he led him a little bit too far to the right.
Which was an awful throw.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't an awful throw.
And he can throw, man, when he throws the ball, it looks pretty in the air. Like every throw that's what's so annoying about DJ, in my opinion. There were some throws last night, including the go-ahead touchdown, that you go, there it is.
Yes.
And that's what the coaches fall in love with when they watch his tape is like, man, if I could get that more often. That's what every coach, I'm sure that's coached him, said. That is incredible arm talent.
Yes, but then you get DJ throwing the screen at 800 miles an hour too. So what are you going to do there? The problem with that overthrow, if you want to call it that, is that everybody kind of went, oh, we were that close, and then people are killing DJ about it. But when you only take one shot per game, you have to throw numbers at this. You have to give him some opportunities. And, you can say, well, he had them, but he's not taking them. I don't know. All I know is we saw how many deep throws
2.
yesterday? 2.
And 1 was complete. So that's probably about right in the percentages. If you looked around the country on deep shots, over 20 yards, it's probably about a 50% completion.
And my man Morlock, come on, brother.
Those are the plays where you feel bad for DJ. Hell of a throw. Perfect throw while getting pressured.
Yeah.
And
First down.
Morlock, and here's the thing though. Morlock didn't suck the whole night. He had a good first quarter.
No, he had a decent game.
Yeah.
But the problem now is that, everybody's calling him more drops. So anytime there's any hint of him not corralling a ball, it's going to continue to feed that. It's unfortunate because that was a good throw and we needed it at that moment.
Yeah. It's so funny though, because we struggle so much. The first quarter, by the way, we look great on offense. I'm like, well, okay. Then it kind of petered off until the fourth quarter. But here's what's annoying. We have such low success rate throwing the ball on first, second down. But then DJ will make a perfect throw in timing, perfect timing, right to the guy with a beautiful spiral right in the guy's hand. And you're like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why isn't that all the time? It's hard for me to understand. He got real lucky on that Jakai throw over the middle. He wasn't. I don't know if you saw the clip, Vince. Not live. It's probably hard to see, but he was not throwing to Jakai. He was throwing. No. He was throwing to the tight end, and Jakai ran in front of it and dove, because if it had gone to the tight end, it was getting picked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about, there's a good comment here from Elijah Barrera. Seems like there's something they can work with to keep getting better. As Lawrence Tolafili said, keep chopping the wood and carrying the wood. Yes, that's a great book, by the way, Elijah. Chop Wood, Carry Water is a fantastic book if you're into books. That's a great book to read. There were several times last night where the wheel route would have been available. Highly available. I mean, highly available. So I don't know what's going on, if he's only reading one half of the field or whatever, which would be very disappointing when you're a fifth-year senior. But again, I want to belabor, we all know what the frustrations are. We all know it. We hear about it on social media. You got people saying, unless DJ gets benched, I'm never going to a game again, and I'm going to stop sending money to the Battle's End, and everybody's personally offended by all this. You should have gone to the game yesterday. What if that's the only win we get all season? You should have gone to the game yesterday. There was enough there to kind of, lift your spirits a little bit. And my man Jakai needs to block on the perimeter a little better too, Ryan, by the way.
Nice. FYI, Vince, the line has come out for the SMU game next week. Florida State's a 5-point dog against SMU next week.
Yeah, I saw the ESPN predictor showing 72% win probability for SMU. So
I would imagine that's an overreaction to SMU scoring 55 yesterday, but you got to look at. I watched some of that game. It was terrible defense. Like, when I say awful, It was awful defense. But
yeah, I mean, you got to win. You got to win one game before you can win two. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah, that's how the bamboo tree grows. You gotta.
Yes, you got to win one before you can win two. And I again, the defense. I think the defense is going to play well. They're starting to round into form. I'm happy about that. A lot of energy. I can buy into that, man. The offense, what have we scored? 13 points, 12 points, 14 points at home.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I think even with here's what's kind of odd. We routinely picked up good yards on the ground. What the problem with the offense right now in this game that we just played is the big losses,
Yeah.
the
The
sacks.
negatives. Yeah.
So if I'm Norvell going into the next game and I'm looking at, okay, it's times in which DJ holds the ball too long or we do a screen and it gets lost to 5, I would just start, hey, like the Toafili type stuff, running like get at least 3 to 4 yards, and then if you are going to throw on early downs with DJ, RPO quick stuff, slants, quick out, nothing that takes long to develop. And then when the running game gets going, then you can call your shot plays here and there. But you got to eliminate, because if you watch the game, they're having decent success percentage wise,
They were.
play by play. It was killed by a horrible loss with DJ
Yes.
getting sacked or something
It
like
was
that.
it's like when someone misses their assignment, it's catastrophic to the drive.
Yes.
Unfortunately. um
So I think if you were to clean up some of those, like reduce the massive negatives, I think you could start averaging in the like mid 20s in points, which is not like something amazing. But
it is for us right now.
if your defense is playing out of its mind, you have a chance. That's what you want to get to, is having a chance. Because after SMU, then the heat gets turned up. I mean, Clemson um, and my look at Miami smoked USF last night.
Yeah.
Um, and I can promise you guys, if they have the opportunity to, they will not show mercy against Florida State when
They shouldn't.
yeah. So we better, if we want to even have a chance to not be embarrassed on against, because Clemson looked good late yesterday too. Um, it's a good time for the defense to start improving, but now it's time for the offense to match the improvement of the defense. And the a percentage matching, more effort, and then taking less big losses. I think we can be competitive in a bunch of games.
If you look at how poorly it's been going, um, any incremental improvement
Yeah,
can pay huge dividends.
yeah,
It's not always going to equate in wins because you got to score points.
yeah,
You're not going to be able to win many games scoring 14 points or 13 points or 12 points. So they've got to cash in. They've got to stop the negative plays. And if they do, then they'll have a chance.
yeah.
Then they'll have a chance. My man
Uh,
Raj.
yeah, Raj writes, how much of an impact do you think Atkins coming back to the team made on I don't know, made a big impact on DJ, but listen, it's a nicety. I'm sure the offensive line was happy to have the guy that they're in the trenches with during practice there to look at, when they come to the sidelines and, hey, here's what's happening. I'm not sure that it makes like this night and day difference. I think the night and day difference is more on just giving more effort and actually um, fighting for your position and on the depth chart. But it was nice to have Atkins back, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I think there's two things there. I think it does matter. I thought at the beginning of the season, if you go back and watch one of the shows, that Atkins not being there could be a problem, and everybody said no. But it could be. But then also, we've also had a rash of injuries on the line, and some of those guys are coming back now.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's a couple of different things. And any kind of at all positions on a football team, offensive line benefits the most from continuity and consistency and cohesion.
Yep.
So, we haven't had that.
Yep.
Part of it because of a ridiculous NIL stupidness from the NCAA.
Yeah.
And then the other part is, the injury bug, which hit us crazy already in the beginning of this season.
Yeah. I want to wrap up the show with one final thing, Vince. We did have a commitment last night.
Mm-hmm.
4-star running back Byron Lewis committed to
Mm-hmm.
Florida State over Miami, Wisconsin, and Georgia. I didn't maybe I'm misreading what he meant by his comment, but when he tweeted it out, he said, "Let's get paid, Noles family." Uh,
Hey, they're getting paid, Ryan.
I know, but and your
Yeah, I mean, I
announcement,
don't like it either, but and just for clarity's sake here, we're not going to count any chickens until they're actually on campus. That's
yeah,
just the way the world works these days. But I'll take any positive, press at this point. And that was a positive thing that happened. He had been Florida State had been in his top group for a while.
yep,
And, for him to make a commitment, it helps, man. It helps change the narrative a little bit. It's not going to make any difference on this year's team,
right,
but, you know, we've had enough negative, basically, is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Um, and if a commitment helps turn that around a little bit, if the crowd yesterday helps turn some of the positivity around on that, which they did, with the Chiefs, I don't know how many war chants they played
right,
yesterday, but it was a ton. And, people leaving the stadium for the first time this season,
yeah,
you know, weren't throwing their t-shirts in the trash and everything
yeah,
else. So
and let's be honest, we know how fandom goes. If you go out and you play well next week and you beat SMU, uh, the Clemson games, people are going to be Doak is going to be packed and loud
yeah,
for that Clemson game. And here's what I'm waiting for, Vince, and you know what I'm talking about here. In DJ's worst times at Clemson, he would have 3 games a year where out of nowhere,
against this team.
yeah, and a few others,
Yeah.
Clemson fans would be dogging him, trashing him. He's awful. 120 yards passing and 2 picks last week. And then out of nowhere, 2 or 3 times a year, like clockwork, he would have a 400-yard, 3-touchdown game.
Right, right,
And you're
right.
like, well, what the hell was that? And that's why coaches fall in love with him. And you're like, well, he's got that in him. I think it's inevitable. I don't know what game it'll be in, but I think it's inevitable that out of nowhere he has this incredible game where he hits like 5 deep shots for touchdowns or some nonsense like that.
And Norvell will say, "I told you so."
Yeah, yeah, it's
Uh,
inevitable. So I'm
yes.
hoping we save it for Clemson and Miami. That's
So, when we're talking about the upward climb of
yeah,
the team, they were in the basement, and they're taking a little baby steps, getting a little bit better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I do think the offense had some things yesterday that looked a little better. So I think they are also incrementally getting
more
better,
organized,
more organized. There were more positive plays than we've been
lots
seeing.
of motion.
And so the question is, if that, or not the question, but if that continues to grow,
Yep.
maybe at one point we do have a little bit of a breakthrough game. The DJ's getting better timing with the receivers because they're just more snaps together. The offensive line is back and healthy.
Receivers are getting
The
older.
younger players are more in tune with the game. There's nothing saying that we couldn't have a breakthrough game. The question is, how late in the season is it going to come?
Yeah.
And who is it going to be against? I would love for it to be against Clemson.
How
You
about we
know,
just have it only be the only offensive good games be against Clemson, Miami, Florida, and Notre Dame? That would be excellent.
that would be. I would take that right now.
Yeah, because that
I
would
would
give
take
you
that right now.
your you with your FCS win, that would give you your 6 wins, and you'd be like, we beat our rivals. Like, it's all good. Yeah,
Because there's not much else other than some, pie in the sky delusional dream of running the table here, which is not going to happen.
yeah,
Um, the season kind of is what it is,
yeah.
and college football, you know, is only a short time of every year. So my passion, whether it's going to be because the team is great or because the team is struggling, I am going to soak up every moment of the season,
Yep.
because before you know it, it's going to be January and we're going to be staring another 6 months of, um, well, we could watch baseball and other things too, but
Yeah. Who wants that? Let's wrap it up, Vince. Again, just to remind you guys, Vince will have some special guests on this week on the Garnet and Old Show
mhm.
on Thursday at 7. I will be at a concert for my birthday, and yeah, I'm excited to see what I'll watch the show afterwards. Probably.
Yeah, this week we're going to have Jeremy. Jeremy's actually in the chat here. Rock and Noles going to be one of the co-hosts this week. I'm going to probably line up a few other people, maybe do like a quad screen kind of deal, and so that'll be fun. So please tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. Also, if you're interested, Ryan and I are trying to grow the channel here. So if you could like the show here, if you could subscribe, would be awesome if you are on YouTube. If you could share out, if you want to super chat sometime and send a few dollars our way, it helps out a lot. Or we have a Venmo down there as well. The reason why the Venmo is there, if you don't know, if you super chat or do something like that through YouTube, YouTube is very happy to take a large chunk of that. But if you Venmo us, Garnet and Old gets all of that, or at least 98% of that. So, and we're trying to grow the channel. Speaking of, Ryan, what's coming up soon?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw up the graphic here. Pretty exciting stuff. We've been kind of, I don't want to say um, leaving it until it was closer, but kind of, we didn't want to talk about it too much until it was closer. But on the 18th of October, as you can see, Garnet Old Live Fishweir Brewing Company in Jacksonville, in the Murray Hill area of Jacksonville, Florida. We are going to be live streaming pre and post game from Fishweir Brewing Company, watching the Duke game, and then we're going to on a Friday night, which will be cool. And then also doing it again, 2 weeks later against Notre Dame. So come join us. Fishweir Brewing Company is Noel owned and operated. The couple that owns the bar are both FSU grads, and they also have a FSU themed beer. Do you remember what it's called,
Yeah,
Vince?
it's called Chopped and Hopped.
Chopped and
So
hopped.
Chopped and Hopped, that is their Seminole themed beer. It's really good.
I only
Uh,
have two more Garnet and Gold nails in my fridge, Vince.
yes, yeah, those were great too. This is the new version of the Seminole themed beer, Chopped and Hopped. And they have, Ryan, their brewery there is awesome. Not only do they have, the bar inside and everything, but they also have this great outdoor area in the back
And we are
with,
very specific on when we did our shows here this time.
yes, a little bit later in the
Not as
season.
hot.
Yeah. Because we usually hang out back a little bit. Because and I'm going to be working on, by the way, getting some Marching Chiefs alumni to come and play there as well. I haven't started that plan yet, but last season we had 10, 12, 15 Marching Chiefs alumni that live in this area to come and play at the brewery. So we usually hole up back in the backyard. It's just a great place to watch a game, and it's usually packed with Noles.
Yeah, it'll be nothing but Knowles there those games, and it'll be cool because both of them we already know will be night games.
Will be
Like,
night games. Yeah, it'll
that's
be a
why
lot
we
of
picked
fun.
them, so we could actually have a bar kind of atmosphere instead of it being noon, which we got unlucky last year. Both of the games were at noon, so that was interesting. But hey, come join us at Fishweir Brewing Company in a few weeks. Any last words, Vince, aside from always sending the Chiefs?
Sending the Chiefs always. Their uniforms are still en route. They're hoping. I think they're hoping to have them for the Clemson game. And so I've seen a lot of people asking about that. They're getting new unis. I do know what they look like. People are wondering what they look. I have seen a graphic. I know what they're going to be. But I'm not going to ruin it for them. They want a big reveal. So yeah, the Chiefs were great. And I want to go back and just say, I am proud of what happened yesterday in terms of the environment at Doak Campbell. Thank you, everybody that was there. You made a huge difference. The Chiefs made a huge difference, and the team played with some inspired ball. So,
and Jordan Travis was there.
And the magic of JT, right? So if anybody's going to Texas next week for that game, bring the noise if you can. There'll be a Chiefs pep band there, so sending the Chiefs
all
right?
the damn
time. So I'm looking forward to seeing the team grow from what we saw yesterday. But I appreciate you, Ryan, for getting the show together.
Absolutely, brother. And I will look forward to watching the Garnet Old show as a fan this coming week after the fact. But good luck with that. And I'll see you next time. I'll see you on camera. Will be on Saturday. I'll find a way to do some kind of pregame. I think I should be home. We have people over, but I'll try to figure that out.
Absolutely. Go Noles, everybody.
Go Noles, and have a great rest of your weekend. See you guys.